Alrighty, good evening, folks. Welcome to Big Footy Tiger Cast for Monday night. Hope you're all doing very, very well. Just thought we'd do another show tonight because there are some key forward talents that I think are worth having a look at because we do have a bit of a need for some young key forwards into our lineup. With the future going forward, especially with it being a little bit up in the air with what we're going to do with Bolter. Will Gibcus make it back from injury? A whole raft of things. So thought we would take a look at a couple of players on that front. I'm not sure if any other gents will be joining me tonight. So I know Grock may have been out with some family. EJ's got a function on, and CB is pretty snowed under with cricket stuff. So it could just be me flying solo with all of you lovely people tonight, but that's okay. That's okay. Possibly RC, possibly, but that's all right. We'll make it work. Cam, how are you, mate? What's going on? Paul, Dan, Noel. Now tell me, Noel, is my video that I posted, am I or am I not draftable? I mean, that goal, that's not easy to do. One hand, holding the phone with one hand, holding the ball with the other hand, and just slotting it perfectly from the boundary line. So, draft me. Have we got an update from Tiggs? Yeah, same from the last time I had heard from him. So, I kind of like the general sort of habits or routine I've gotten into, and this year's probably a little bit different because of how strong our draft hand is. But typically, once the season's done and our shows kind of come to a close, I tend to leave the guys alone because we're kind of in each other's pockets for most of the year with organising episodes and all different bits and pieces. But I do try and let them get their own space where possible. And obviously, this draft has probably made things a little bit different because we've got so much interest in it. But I'll check back in with Tiggs and give an update. But yeah, we'll make sure we keep sending him love and support on the socials if you do see him on there as well. Respect, no, all good pushing on style, no stress. Oh, geez, that is savage. Wow, pick scoops over me. Come on, I've got a good track record with my goal kicking though. Wow, that is harsh. Yeah, but we did started it just not long ago. So not long ago. So the other thing that's been interesting that has come out again tonight, I think it was, is Fox Footy talking about the trading up of pick 2 and how that's going to play out. It's always very interesting discussion because I suppose a lot of opposition supporters and North Melbourne supporters don't want to believe that North are going to have to pay overs to get pick 6 or whatever it might be. For some reason, there's just this perception that, well, if North are going to trade pick 2, then they have to get the better end of the deal or it has to be even. Well, no, that doesn't have to happen that way at all because if we rewind only a month or so ago, the amount of supporters that you would have all remembered from Gold Coast and West Coast, Fremantle, laughing at us for what we were expecting to get for trades with our players, and sure enough, we got exactly what we said we would get, and that is because what we have is the commodity that other teams want, and I think people are again forgetting that North Melbourne, from what is being said out and about in the media world, if they just actually pay attention to what's being said and written, they would understand it themselves as well. But North seem to be more keen to get into the draft twice than we are to get pick 2. Yes, we're happy to get pick 2 and wonderful, we'll take it. But I think it's more being pushed from their end because they want to, get 2 picks inside this first round. And the other factor is that I don't think there's many other people that are left willing to deal with them because teams have been trying to trade into this first round. I don't think anyone's too keen to then trade back out. We've obviously got quite a few picks available where we maybe have the luxury to do so, to try and shuffle some things around. But yeah, I don't think there'll be any other suitors potentially. So it's kind of sounding like it's us or bust for North. And on that purpose and grounds alone is why I think that if they want to get it done, they're going to have to pay overs to do it, whether they like it or not. And I'm talking more specifically about the future first round pick. And yeah, happy for people to say that we're batshit crazy for thinking that that's what will happen. But in a weird way, Richmond kind of hold the cards. I do think that we're happy to walk with 1 and 6 if that's all we've got. But obviously having 2 to get the 2 best players in the country would be very nice and very handy. But yeah, it's definitely not us pushing the narrative. So a bit to play out there. Hopefully it happens before the night. Although it could add some entertainment value, I suppose, watching it live. Cam, there's been a few tools out there. I went and flew the flag on one of them. But okay, so it's got to a Friday deal, right? Okay, so Friday's the cutoff. That makes it interesting. But yeah, look, it's going to be very, very funny if North do cough up the future first. Let's say it's for 6-11 or 6-18. Even at 6-11, a lot of people external to Richmond don't think that's fair. Think that's way overs. Maybe so, because that future first could be a top 5 or 6 pick. So I get it, but people will lose their collective minds if that happens. And I'm kind of with you, Greg, that I really don't think that we want to get rid of pick 6. I think that, and this is why that talk popped up about involving GWS and Port Adelaide as well, with some pick swapping and things like that. The rationale behind that, and I don't know exactly how it was going to pan out, that wasn't ever posted, but the rationale, I suppose, behind it is trying to manufacture and somehow get pick 2 without losing pick 6, and I suppose minimal damage to pick 10 and 11. I dare say we had to have lost at least one of those, maybe even both 10 and 11, but I guess does it come down to, would we be happy with walking in with 1, 2, 6 and then 18 versus 1, 6, 10, 11? I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what people would rather. But yeah, I think we would like to hold on to 6 if we could do so. But the blackout period starts with Jones Racing mentioned above. So got to a Friday. So if nothing gets done by this Friday, then the next time it can get done is on draft night. And just a reminder, guys, we are doing a live watch along for the draft as well on the 20th. Obviously, we can't show the live feed because for copyright reasons, but similar to how we do the live commentary ones, yeah, we'll be watching it on Foxtel on the internet or whatever, and we can all just chat and talk about the picks as they come up. So we will definitely do that. But anyway, we're here tonight because we thought we've spoken a lot about some of the midfielders available at our higher picks, and I think it's important to take a look at some of the key position forwards that are available as well, because that is just as much of a need for us in particular than midfielders are in some senses. So, why am I buffering? Why is it on Wi-Fi? Connection's unstable. I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm most definitely plugged in. Hopefully they didn't just bomb out for people. But yes, we're going to take a look at some of the key forwards in this draft crop. So it's going to be a combination. We've got some video highlights, and I will read some bits and pieces from Rookie Me. So firstly, I want to give a shout out to Footy Stuff, the YouTube page. Make sure you get around their videos. They've got some amazing stuff up there of the draftees. If you've ever got some quiet time and want to have a look at, what other players are potentially coming through, definitely check them out. They're very, very good. And Rookie Me, obviously, they do good stuff as well. So I'll be reading some of the stats and comments from them. So Rookie Me, shout out to them too. With that said, I know we've got a specific video up of Harry Armstrong, but I thought we'd start with him because he's probably on the higher touted end of things for draft picks for the key forwards anyway. And he's one that I still think may slip to 10 if we're lucky. But Harry Armstrong is 195 centimetres tall from the Sandy Dragons, key forward. I'm just reading from the Rookie Me website. Harry Armstrong kicks goals for fun. It's no wonder the Sandy Dragons prospect has quickly risen to be regarded the best key position prospect out of this year's draft, even amongst an established bunch of tall forwards. Despite being the leading APS goal kicker last year as spearhead of Hailbury College titles-winning side, a late season injury meant Armstrong only made his Coates Talent League debut in round 1 of 2024. The All-Australian full forward has elevated himself as a big game player. He won Sandy a game after the siren in round 12 with his 4th goal of the game and booted 5 goals in the National Champs final. Add to that 4 majors in the Coates Talent League decider, and his resume is bursting at the seams. So his best haul through school footy, he actually kicked 10 goals against Melbourne Grammar. Looking at some of his strengths: athleticism, competitiveness, contested marking, leading patterns, scoreboard impact, set shot goal kicking, improvements, endurance, and four-quarter consistency. So I know, like I said, I know we posted a little bit about Harry Armstrong recently, but does look like he's a very good shot for goal, first and foremost. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that he has done some work with Matthew Lloyd. I think he's done a lot of goal kicking stuff with him, which, yeah, I mean, in some ways there's no better coach than Lordo doing all of that. So just out of interest, what would people think about taking him if he slides to 10 or 11? What would people think about taking him rather than someone like Trevallion or Houghton or someone like that? And Dan, you make a really good point, and I kind of agree with you that when I whenever I open up a highlights video that's about a key forward, in my mind, before I've even clicked play, I'm kind of expecting to see a lot of bash and crash and big pack marks and stuff like that. I didn't kind of get that vibe too much with Harry. That's not to say he doesn't do it, because it's kind of isolated to just this one video that we're looking at, I guess. Maybe he did it more in his Coach League season. I'm not too sure. Others who are in the know might know more than me, but does have a booming left foot kick though, so he can roost them from long range, which is handy as well. But yeah, interesting to see what people think there. Lecky, we need a proper forward. What do you define as a proper forward though? What does that sort of mean? Booming left foot kick. Lawler 1. Lecky's you go Armstrong 6. So how would people feel about that? Doing Armstrong at 6. Is that a reach? I mean, we obviously need a whole range of players. I kind of think it would be not a bad idea, but I think you've got to go the best available mids in those first 2 picks and see what happens after that, don't you? Kane likes the Whitlock brothers. We've got one of them coming up as well. Hunt would take him or Shanahan. Cam says he isn't typically known for his contested marking or ability to mark in the packs. And I know you can sort of, I suppose, teach that, but I guess you want someone who's like naturally aggressive at those packs from this age, I think. I think that suits our game style a little bit more. So that's probably my only concern, is how does his play style fit into us and what we do. Tiger Pop, we need the best mids at 1 and 6. Agree. I definitely agree. Personally think, so you reckon he's gone at 5 or 9, but I wouldn't take Armstrong at 6. We need the best available mids in the first 2 picks. Lawler and whoever slides out of the top 5. Yeah. Look, I still think there's a very small chance that he gets to 10. It needs a little bit of luck. There's no denying that. But I'm with you. Like, I don't think I would take the punt at 6. I think there's enough behind him in terms of other players available that if we don't land him, there are other players there that we should be able to do okay from. Jonty Faull, we've got him coming up as well. Chris Sidney reckons Shanahan's a better forward than Armstrong in his opinion. Crashes packs, moves up and down the ground. So I think he might be next on the list of players that we will look at. So there's... Oh, why can't I move my mouse across? There we go. So that was Harry Armstrong. The next one we've got here is Jobe Shanahan, which I know a few people have just mentioned. Have just mentioned in the chat. So heading over to Jobe Shanahan's profile. Jobe Shanahan is 195 centimeters tall from Bendigo Pioneers. Just reading a few excerpts from Rookie Me. Jobe Shanahan is an exciting key position prospect ahead of the 2024 draft. The Rama native managed some very good football this season, splitting his time between junior club in the Murray Football League and senior comp with the Pioneers. At 15 years of age, going into 2022, he first played for Bendigo Pioneers. It's a pretty young age to be playing at that level, which is pretty impressive. So he's produced a 60-goal season for their under-17 side, making his senior debut, managing 12 games for 13 goals. The 2024 season saw Shanahan earmark himself as one of New South Wales' best draft hopes, being named in the National Academy. He managed 22 goals from 11 games with the Pioneers, with his best haul being 6 against the Bush Rangers in the last home and away game of the year. Some of the strengths for Shanahan: aerial ability, which I think has been mentioned a few times in chat, clean hands, mobility, overhead marking, scoreboard impact, and versatility. Improvements, follow-up work, and ground balls. So his mobility's been highlighted. I'm just trying to read what else could be interesting to talk about with him. But these are the first times I've actually seen his highlights too. But I dare say if there's someone who crashes the packs and is a bit more better at contested marking naturally, I feel like we're probably better to take them. And if that means it's Shanahan ahead of Armstrong, then maybe that is the right call. What does everyone think? I don't actually have Josh Murphy on the list. No, that might be one we can do for another time, though. Dan's worried that Shanahan's gone by 18. Would anyone be against taking him at 11? And that becomes the question, doesn't it? Like, if we think Armstrong might be gone by 10 and 11, how long do you have to try and wait to try and get Jobe Shanahan? Like, do you have to reach at 11? I know that 11 turns into 13 or 14 once all the shuffling and stuff's done. But how much do you need to reach to try and make sure that we actually secure ourselves a forward to develop and grow. Now, I know we've got Liam Fawcett. He's still very undersized, but was showing very, very good signs in the VFL after he come back from the VAFA. In the VFL, that was Hayes Brown in the VAFA. And we've obviously got Lafau, who's going to come back mid-year after his knee injury. Samson Ryan can play a roll-up forward as well, but I dare say he's probably earmarked to do more rucking than anything else. And the other player who I think will actually partner Tom Lynch for the first part of the year, I actually think it'll be Campbell Gray that will actually come through and partner Tom Lynch from the start. So we do have some young forwards in development, but I think we need that real genuine key forward prospect to keep ourselves going. There you go. Played in the Essendon VFL and kicked 5 goals. That's pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive. Cam, you don't reckon that Shanahan is that as a reach at 11? Okay, that's good. So if he's at 11 and someone like Travalia or Xavier Lindsay, someone like that, how do they stack up against each other? What would be the preference there if we're talking about a key forward versus one of those halfback or midfield types? That's I suppose, the decision that we have to try and all land, or not us, but Blair has to land on. These draftees will be better than Fawcett. Let's get 2 forwards and develop Kernell Mackay. Not a bad call, Ash, because Kernell Mackay at forward is a dangerous combination for the Blues. True about the style of forward, Tiger Pop. I do think that every team loves to have that bash and crash forward, though, don't they? Bauer as well, good call. Yeah, Joan Dressing, that's spot on. Bauer is going to be in the forward line too. I'm not sure if he's too undersized to be a genuine second forward, though. And I know that a Shanahan or an Armstrong probably won't come in year 1 and be that genuine second forward, but good to have someone there developing in the wings and growing and getting ready for it. Imagine we got Armstrong and Shanahan. That would be the dream. That would be the dream. If we don't get a key forward, we're finished. Yeah, I think we'll. Yeah, and what's going to actually be interesting is if we don't take a key forward in this draft, I will be completely sold on the fact that we think we're getting a forward via trade or free agency in the following year. I just can't see how we could progress in the future without having some type of player up our sleeve, whether it's in draft, whether it's in trade. So if we don't draft one, we have to be trading one in. It's the only sort of possible option. And that kind of being Cadman. Next we're going to look at is Matt Whitlock, who I know a lot of people have been really across the Whitlocks. I want Jack. God damn, I looked up the wrong one. Hang on. We'll come back to that one. I'll revisit that one. Jonty Faull we'll go to. Jonty Faull. Jonty Faull is 195 centimetres from the Rebels. Key forward, obviously. Jonty came into 2024 as one of the crop's most highly touted key forwards. His run of form towards the end of 2023 was remarkable, booting 13 goals in his last how many games? 14 games. Having been selected in the Vic Country Talent Hub and the AFL Academy for 2024, his progress was halted slightly by a pre-season setback. He had a bit of a back injury. Those back injuries, obviously we've had a few players come down with some of those. From there, he beat his overall bottom age gold tally 20 from one less game, bagging 27 majors in 11 outings, which was good. Jonty was one who stepped up on the big stage. The Rebels achieved its first grand final appearance since 97, and he booted 4 goals in the quarterfinal and 5 in a best on ground prelim. So to see someone doing that on the biggest stage as well is obviously pretty impressive. The 195 centimetre prospect missed out on game 1 of the under-18 national champs, but ran out with 3 appearances under his belt. His tally of 5 goals was boosted by a hat-trick against the Allies, and his strong rebound in the back end of the year had him poised as a top 30 prospect. So some of the strengths were competitiveness, mobility, scoreboard impact, set shot goal kicking, and work rate. Improvements, composure, and contested marking. Apparently he's got claims on being one of the hardest working and most competitive key forwards in the crop, which is really, really interesting. So having someone who's prepared to work hard both ways, I dare say, is very important. But how does everyone rate Jonty Faull? And what kind of range would you be happy for us to take a look at him at? Again, you don't want to reach and stretch too far with how good some of the midfield crop is. And to Christopher Sidney's point as well, that next year's draft is allegedly pretty good for big players as well. So you've got to be careful with getting the balance right, I guess. But keen to hear where everyone thinks that Jonty could fall in the draft pecking order. Where would you be comfortable taking him? Is Grock still confident the club are very keen on Jonty? I'm not too sure. I haven't spoken to him about that specifically, but I'll try and get his thoughts on that, or just hit him up on Twitter. I'm sure he will let you know. Pick 20 for Noah, you reckon, for Jonty? Pick 18, says Rocco. Jones reckons we'll get 2 key position forwards with 2 of our later picks. Yeah, I tend to agree. Captain says pick 18. Keen on 20-ish. Lecky's gone 10 11 Armstrong, Shanahan, Rewalt type. So you'd go both. You would go 2 forwards at that pick. That's interesting. Julie says, whoever we select, the emphasis must be on attitude. All these potential forwards look good. Skills can be developed, but attitude is no. We want more 300-game players. Very true for our sustained future. Got him at 18. Yeah, pick 18. You wouldn't mind that at pick 18. Have I heard about the academy kid at Lockwood from Bendigo Pioneers? I haven't. No, what is there a name there, Danny? Haven't heard of any prospects. A pick in the 20s. So, Cam, if you're still around, mate, what are your views on Jonty Faull? Do you see him lasting into the late teens, early 20s? And I suppose the question is, do we go 2 forwards, or do you go one key forward and the rest mids, halfbacks, whatever you want to call it? Just on the basis that we've obviously got Lafau, we've got Fawcett, we've got Campbell Gray. Are you banking on one of them to come good? Obviously, you've got the Bolter factor. I know it divides a lot of people about Bolter going back or forward. I don't think we've heard one way or another yet, but it's last year. Obviously, Uze was very keen to keep playing him up forward. And I personally don't think that we've seen a big enough bit of evidence of Bolter up forward with a nice team around him. Last year, he was playing there when we were running at 50% or less. So I don't really want to make too many judgments on that, but we'll have to see. There you go. So, Cam, you reckon he's in that 15 to 30 range? So, yeah, okay. I suppose the hard part is with our last 2 picks of 23 and 24, the assumption is that we might use those to be on-traded to move up into next year's draft potentially as teams come looking for some sliders. Very much so, Alpha. So Grock and Tiggs have been hot on this for quite a few years now that Cadman was a target of ours a little while ago, kind of around the same time we were trying to get Ben King. And the easiest way to explain how it kind of played out, I think the club felt they were a really good chance at landing Ben King. There's a video about this coming out in a week or so that we've done. But the problem is that a lot of the reason why we were going to land him was because of the work that Dimmer had put in while coach at Richmond. And then obviously Dimmer goes to Gold Coast. So he's now coaching the play he was trying to poach and was able to obviously convince him to stay. And by that stage, I think Cadman had already recommitted to the to the Giants. So we kind of lost out there. But by the sounds of it, that we've always kept in contact. And Grock still is very adamant that there's plans for us to go hard at him. Maybe next year. I think next year, though, he would still have a year left to run on contract. So we would have to pay a bit overs to get him. But maybe it's better to have a crack next year rather than wait the year after. But yes, definitely a lot of noise about us chasing Cadman for sure. And that's where I think potentially a future first pick from North could come into play to formulate part of a deal to get Cadman next year, potentially. That's where my mind's at with that future 1 pick. And again, if we don't draft a forward in this draft, for me, that adds further weight to us, whether it's Cadman or someone else, but that we've got someone lined up, because we just can't keep going on without having any more forwards in the background there developing and growing. Is Cadman as Richmond support? I did not know that. 5 key defenders. Yeah, I think Bolter will play forward as well, personally. I know people aren't probably overly happy with that, but I truly think that Uze will want to see him up forward in a team that's fully functioning rather than a team that's all over the shop. I'll go through a few comments first before we get to this last one. Lecky, our defense on paper is top 8. Mids, aging, no impact or game-changing players. Forwards, we only have Lynch. Yeah, it's a fair call, Lecky. And I agree. Our defense, I know we obviously finished last and conceded some scores last year, but I reckon that's for a large chunk. Our defense actually held up not so bad. It was just because of the sheer weight of ball coming down there and the lack of pressure from the midfield that there wasn't really a hell of a lot they could do by the end of it. But I think the defense part of the ground is actually not too shabby, but it's trying to when we move the ball forward of centre or out of the back half, we fall down dramatically. So we have to try and fix that pretty quickly. Danny reckons that Shanahan is a Rewalt clone. Him and Faull could be a good get. It's definitely worth us. I think it's definitely worth us trying to poach Cadman because Lynch will be finished in a year or two. We need someone a bit more ready-made to. I know he's still very young, but to sort of head the charge of our forward line. Cadman and Harley Reid come in end of 2025 to Richmond to win us the 2026 flag. I don't mind it, Tim. I don't mind. I can get on board with that. I can get on board. Houghton, yeah, I'll put a video up today of Houghton. He does look very good. I think Houghton's the one for me that I would love for us to take a punt on. And this is the problem. I know we can't get all the players we want to take punts on, but at 10 or 11, if he's still there, he would be one that I would be seriously considering taking a bit of a gamble on because I really don't think he's going to get through to 18. He's just too talented. I know he's had the ACL injury, but yeah, he's one that I think with the amount of picks we've got, we can take a little bit of a gamble, I reckon. We need a ruckman. Possibly. Yeah, with obviously Naismith finishing up. We've got obviously Nank doing his thing. Samson Ryan will have to. I think Samson Ryan has to naturally progress and step into this second ruck role. That's pretty much, in my mind, why we did the 3-year extension or whatever long it was. Hayes Brown's still very, very light on. The other one that for me is a bit of a wild card, and happy to be shot down for this, but Mateo Kalina, he has not had a great run at it with injuries, and I really think that if our existing fitness crew was still in play, he would have left the club. But he is staying on. And if we can get his back right, in the games he played, he actually didn't look too bad. And I know I've said this before, but because he has a football background, like he actually knows what he's doing. He actually knows how to play the game. Not saying he was going to be number one ruckman. I'm just saying that if Nank gets injured or suspended or needs to chop out, whatever it might be, and if Ryan's not cutting the mustard, Kalina could be just a nice one to chuck in every now and then. No, Nank's not finishing up. Not at all. Not at all. But I think it's unrealistic to expect him to ruck all year. So someone like, Samson Ryan will have to chop out, or heaven forbid, Bolter at various stages as well. Although I'm not a massive fan of that, it must be said. But yeah, the only thing I can think, the club obviously see a lot of potential or something in Samson Ryan in some capacity. And I don't know whether it's up forward or in ruck or both, but yeah, we'll have to see how that one plays out. The last one we'll look at here is Thomas Sims. Thomas Sims will roll that footage. Where's my notes on him? So, according to Rookie Me, Thomas Sims, 199 centimetres from the Northern Knights. Sims from the Northern Knights is another exciting dual position prospect for many clubs ahead of the draft. The Parade College product boasts excellent athleticism and mobility for a player of his size and has quite strong hands, boasting plenty of upside as well. Comes from an athletics background. Sims first started his junior football in the Northern Footy League. I'm trying to find the really good important stuff. He played a key role in Vic Metro's national championship title win, which included a 3-goal haul against WA, and also managed to play for Parade in the Herald Sun Shield final win in August. Tested well at the combine, managed top 10 finishes in the running vertical jump and agility tests, which is interesting. Analysis, strengths, we've got athleticism, creativity, leading patterns, marking, physicality, and versatility. Improvements, scoreboard consistency, set shot, goal kicking. So obviously he's got a bit more height about him and can play. Would be able to chop out and do bits and pieces in the ruck as well. Obviously at VFL level to start with, if picked up, maybe not so much in the seniors, being the size that he is. But what does everyone think of Sims? Is he a likely tie? Cam, where do you rate him? Do you see him getting through? Is that a pick in the 20s? Or I know we don't have a pick in the 30s, but would we have to look at using one of our picks in the 20s, I would imagine? How would Fawcett go if we can get him fit? So Fawcett, what is he? He's 197 centimetres. I'm not sure if he's put on much size or not, but Yeah, I mean, he'll be another one that'll be interesting to see how he goes. Obviously, with fielding a lot younger side next year, if he's fit and ready to go, maybe he does get a chance early. I still think Campbell Gray's probably slightly ahead of him, just from I suppose, a build and mature perspective. And I think he might be the one that they'll partner with Tommy Lynch, assuming that Lynch is playing as well. Maybe they both have to play. Who knows? But yeah, Fawcett I could definitely see him getting games throughout the year for sure. Like for me, 2025 is another free hit. I fully expect us to finish bottom four. We may not win many games, but for me, it's just about seeing the young kids develop and grow and getting games into them, and seeing a bit more of a resemblance of a game plan would be the most prominent thing I'd be hoping to see. Have we got any father sons coming up in the next few years? I think there was one of the Callaway boys coming through. I'm not sure if it's not this year, but I'm not sure if it's next year or the year after. Was there anyone else that people knew about for father son picks? I'm not too sure who else was coming through the ranks in that space. Probably pick 24 on the second night if we miss Shanahan. And yeah, true. And that's the beauty by having that first pick of the second round. If there is someone that we missed or a player type that we missed, we pretty much get first pick of the lot again for the second night and feel that need, don't we? Greg says Fawcett shows some good signs in his small amount of time in the VFL. Fawcett needs a pre-season and a year in the VFL before we properly considering him, in your opinion. His first year was completely wiped out. Gray's just as raw as Fawcett on the same timeline. I think he's a bit more physically developed though, isn't he, Gray? So that's why I think he might get in ahead. Obviously, Bauer's going to play as well. Next 2 years we gain game to the kids. True. Okay, so next year's Callaway. Do we know what position Lewis Callaway plays? Anyone got any info there? We haven't had a hell of a lot of luck there, have we, with some of the father sons? I think Broderick's son might have just got cut this year, just gone. Obviously, Naish got traded to West Coast or delisted and picked up by West Coast. Yeah, we've not had much luck there. I appreciate that, Danny. It's good fun looking at the draftees and what's coming up in the draft. It's good fun. Daffy's son? Okay, interesting. Do we know much about Daffy's son, Sharon? Is he next year or the year after? Yeah, I wouldn't have been against keeping Cumberland either, just quietly, Lecky. I'm kind of with you, but I can also understand why he may want to have a crack at getting more opportunities elsewhere if someone's going to give him that opportunity. And I hope they do. I hope they do. Just hope he doesn't play well against us. Bauer and Lafau ahead of Gray and Fawcett in terms of partnering with Lynch and Bolter. Possibly, but Lafau's not going to play until halfway through the year. So it kind of rules him out for the first part of the season. Bauer will play, but like I said, I'm just not sure if he's a genuine big enough size for a second forward. But we're going to have to see how it goes, aren't we? We've got nothing to lose, I guess. Yeah, hopefully Callaway's good foot skills. Very good, Craig. I'll never forget when Duncan went forward. Was it against Port Adelaide when we were trying to get him a goal? That was some fascinating footage, watching that game. I think, for the wing. Okay, possibly 16. Okay, so he's a couple of years away. Gibcus. So Gibcus, look, he's a really interesting one because he's obviously had the terrible run with injuries. Put on some really good size as well over the last off season, so it was quite disappointing to see him go down. And I don't know. I assume we're going to play him back, but I guess the question becomes: do you play Bolter back, or do you play Gibcus back, or do you play both back, or does one go forward? I know that's a lot to potentially digest, but if everyone's hell-bent on Bolter playing as a defender because he plays better there, then I think potentially we have to try Gibcus forward, maybe, depending on if Campbell Gray or a Bauer or whatever can hold down the fort. If not, if we need some more genuine height and leaping at the ball and things like that, don't be surprised if we see moves like that being made. If we don't think we've got a suitable option to be down there, it's going to be interesting. Trainer is a full forward. Great set shot. He did kick a goal in the carnival, I think. I think the biggest question mark on Trainer is just the concussion stuff, I guess. It's going to be interesting to see where he and Houghton both slide to. Both got injury concerns. What I want to know, though, is are people more scared of concussion injuries, or are you more scared of someone coming back from an ACL? I've had 3 ACL injuries, so I know they can go quite easily, given that I haven't had the same type of physiotherapy and treatment that a footy player would. But what's more of a deterrent? Because trainer seems to be going pretty well as of right now after his most recent injury. But yeah, and it's hard because concussion's obviously the hot topic amongst the AFL at the moment, with protocols and making sure they're taking the right amount of time off. There's potential lawsuits at play, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I think that I think I would rather take the punt on a ACL injury. And what's interesting is our fitness staff that we have now got in place now, they actually specialised in recovering from ACL injuries and hamstring injuries. So we do have people in the right spots. I think so, Lecky. I think the only fair and reasonable thing to do is to actually get all 10 of the first 10 picks, so we can just have a fair go whatever we want. It's a weird spot, isn't it, when there's so many good players available, so many needs and wants that we have, but obviously we can't get everything we want, I suppose. Just get Gibbs on the field. That's true, Warren. First and foremost, that is absolutely correct. Agree. With the worries about trainers' attitude, I personally hadn't heard anything about that. I'm not sure if Cam, if you'd heard anything on that, but I suppose all clubs would factor that in. I know that the mental side of things has been a big part of the interviews and asking certain questions and if they've got leadership qualities and all that kind of stuff. So no doubt that was all factored in for sure. Concussions are dangerous. Yeah, it does feel like it's a bit more of a risk dealing with concussions than ACL, doesn't it? But like I said, he seems to be going pretty well now after the last bout of concussion. So, I mean, hopefully he's got a clear run at it, because the kid can seriously play. And whoever does take the punt on him, if it comes off, they're going to have potentially a top 6 to 8 talent player, but maybe for the cost of a pick 18 to 20. So not a bad deal. Apparently Armstrong's timid attitude's been brought into question. And it's like, I obviously don't know him, so I feel awful commenting in such a way, but based on the sort of highlights we just saw, I can kind of see if that was how that might be a real thing, with the not bashing packs and crashing and contested marking. But maybe that's just his play style as well. And that's why I suppose there'll be different forward traits that appeal to different clubs in different ways. But Nick Real played a heap of games with a few bad blows early in his career. Yeah, and concussions happen to all players pretty much, so it's just a little bit of risk versus reward. Ash, Lawler, Smiley, key position forward, Trainer, Houghton, key position forward. I'd be pretty good with that, with our picks. Good platform to work off. Backline's probably the strongest. Yeah, definitely. I agree that the backline's the strongest. Pre-season usually starts mid to late November. I think you typically see the first-year players or first and second-year players rolling up first, and then the draftees get introduced into the mix. And then as the weeks go on, the third and fourth years and the older guys start coming back as well. But it's not that uncommon for some of the older guys to start up at the start and just do their own thing and then join the main program a bit later on. Obviously the earlier the better, I think, getting our guys back in. But anyway, that's probably a wrap for tonight. Apologies having to hear me talk, but hopefully it was all okay. It was kind of good to watch some of the key forward highlights, because it's definitely someone or a position that we do need to address. And like I said, though, if we don't draft for that position, it's going to be very, very interesting, because that just screams that we've got a plan for a player to trade for in the future. So I will be watching that with a lot of interest. Who's the most exciting in the draft? Another Watson type. Yeah, I mean, from the videos I've seen, Taj Houghton looks probably the most X-factorish, but he also puts up really good consistent numbers too. So in the 3 or 4 games of Coates League he played this year, he was averaging like 28 disposals, and they weren't all just handballs. Like, he was getting 14 kicks, 14 handballs on average. Averaged got 1.7 goals, averaged a few marks a game. So he's actually, it just doesn't feel like it was a cream on top play. It actually felt like there's a lot more depth and substance to him, and that's why I kind of feel like it might be worth taking the risk. But what I know, I'm just a guy who kicks a couple of goals at the footy oval and filming on his phone, so I don't know too much, but he just looks the goods. But I suppose that's what a highlight package is, isn't it? But thank you for the kind words. Much appreciated. Other than that, a reminder that we are doing the live show on draft night. So on Wednesday, the 20th, we will be going live. There should be a few of us on for that one, I dare say. As I said, we won't be able to show the footage for copyright reasons, but if you're watching it at home and we're watching at the same time, we can all obviously comment on the picks as they come through and hopefully laugh and cry happy tears and we haven't just, hopefully we don't botch it. But so you make sure if you're available for that, feel free to tune in. No $25 fee like the club. No, actually, I can see why the club's done that. But yeah, if you're not going and you want to watch, feel free to jump in. Other than that, there should be a few videos popping up on YouTube in the coming weeks. I put up a question on Twitter for people who want to ask Richmond questions that we can do some answers for in short form to upload. So I'll do it on the other platforms as well and get the other guys involved. Some of the past player interviews will start popping up on YouTube as well, because a lot of people may not have seen them because they were quite old, 2022 and 2023. But has Blair been in touch? My phone was ringing hot after that goal, Jones Racing. The phone was running hot. So as anyone mentioned, Jared Oakley-Nichols, oh, Dan, before we go, we'll touch on that. How far have we come as a club? And I should start by saying how he got drafted should never have eventuated. But the fact that we were drafting players back at that point in time without having literally no physical vision or seeing him, just going off a scout's word, is absolutely mind-blowing that took place. So we have come a long way. And for all of the hypotheticals and stuff that we all love to go through, I know I've said this comment a few times, but most definitely in Blair we trust, and to, I suppose, a further extent, Chris Toshay as well. Let's not forget that even though he's only at the club for a short time, that he most definitely has his fingerprints all over this draft. And I've got no doubt that the names that Toshay and Blair have got up on the board and Francis Jackson, that they will get this right. They've got a lot of experience between them and they know their shit. So we've said this before, but I do really think that this could be a Toshay legacy draft. And yeah, Blair and Francis Jackson will be the men in the seats calling all the shots. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we go on draft night. But definitely like and subscribe on YouTube. Get around us. If anything happens, as for a show next week, if anything happens in the news-wise, if we trade picks, for example, or something comes to light, we'll definitely do something. But outside of that, it might just be the draft night one that we'll do from there on out. So have a wonderful night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a good cup day tomorrow. Gamble responsibly if you're wanting to have a bit of a bet on the horses. I know nothing about them, so don't ask me for any tips. But have a good night, everybody. Enjoy the public holiday and go Tigers. And I'll see you all maybe next week, if not on draft nights.